Welcome once again to Noir Alley. I'm your host, Eddie Muller, waiting patiently all week at bar 355 so I can present to you another obscurity from the classic era of film noir. This month we have a selection of genuine classics, so today I felt I could get away with slipping something far less than classic into the mix. Violence, made at Monogram Pictures in 1947, won't earn many stars in any rated listing of movies. In fact, it might escape being listed at all. Monogram Pictures was part of what the big studios called, condescendingly, Poverty Row. It existed to churn out movies that filled the bottom half of double bills, which was the standard for movie exhibition in this era. Most of its offerings were typical genre fare: westerns, crime pictures, and adventure yarns, all made on shoestring budgets and ridiculously short schedules. But every once in a while, an ambitious producer or writer would stretch out into topical territory, making something ripped from today's headlines. No big deal, as long as their big ideas didn't bloat the budget or lengthen the running time. B-movies were often bought by exhibitors sight unseen, with little advance publicity. They were typically part of packages built around splashier and more expensive A-list releases. On occasion, a modest crime picture like this might contain a message in a bottle, floated into the mainstream in the hope it would reach some receptive audiences. Some of these messages are what inspired the House Un-American Activities Committee to launch investigations into purported communist influence in Hollywood. But were these suspected subversives actually under the sway of the Soviet Union? Or were they opposed to politicians trying to eliminate opposition to their own ideological agenda? Or were they just exploiting current events to tell timely and provocative stories? I can say with complete certainty that the creators of this film, writer Stanley Rubin and director Jack Bernhardt, were not enemies of the state. Rubin was an ambitious writer who wanted to produce, and here he was re-teaming with Bernhardt in the wake of their ultra-weird 1946 film Decoy, which dropped plenty of jaws when I showed it a while ago on Noir Alley. They're up to something else here, dealing with a topic no major studio would touch in 1947. RKO's Crossfire came close, but its exploration of hate crimes focused on an isolated villain. This film offers a more bitter view of organized hate, specifically how opportunistic politicians foment hatred to seize power and influence. As stiff and corny as this movie often is, it's exceptional in its prescient depiction of a situation that 75 years later is an even more insidious infection in the nation's bloodstream. Also unique is that Violence is one of the few crime programmers of the era to feature a female protagonist. Well, at least she starts out as the protagonist. Nancy Coleman plays a scrappy and resourceful journalist who goes undercover to expose the truth behind True Dawson, a corrupt America First candidate building a political base on the festering anger of disenfranchised veterans. Later films like All the King's Men and A Face in the Crowd would tackle with much more money, talent, and craft the theme of how demagogues are made. But I give a lot of credit to the makers of Violence for being there first and not couching anything in vague allusions. The dialogue in this film is as blunt and straightforward as the filmmaking. You cannot miss the point. But as a storyteller, Stanley Rubin wasn't really interested in message mongering. He liked a hot topic, but mostly he loved throwing unexpected wrinkles into his plots. And there are a few unexpected twists and turns in this one, including the injection of a plot device that pops up in film noir as often as a common cold. This is not a great film, to say the least, but it is a fascinating historical curio that still has resonance. Co-starring Michael O'Shea, Sheldon Leonard, and Emery Parnell as True Dawson, here is Violence.